Hour number 2, McElroy and Cubelic underway right now, Monday, October the 6th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Listen online, jocksfm.com. That app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. You can download that for free. Tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jocks skill, and you can always listen in that way. So we're going to move around the Southeastern Conference, a couple of other games. How did Florida do what they did against the Texas Longhorns? Was that surprising? Is that more of what we're going to get from Florida the rest of the year? Is that more of who Texas is and what they will be the rest of the season? Greg, before we get into any of that, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, Wes and the guys have been coming to our house forever. We've always been very grateful to the experience we've had when Polar Bear Services come to the house and takes care of everything in the house. It's amazing. They do such a great job of making sure that everything that they do is perfect. And as the season begins to change, there's a lot of cold weather in our future. As the season begins to change, make sure you have your system ready to run through the gauntlet that is Alabama heat and humidity, transitioning to cold, potentially ice here in the next 90 days or so. So get out in front of it. Make sure it's ready to roll by calling our friends at Polar Bear Services. They are awesome. You guys will love the experience that you have when you talk with Wes and the guys at Polar Bear Services. So remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bears, 205-497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR.
All right, so Florida takes out Texas 29-21. We'll come back to Alabama Vandy here in just a moment, but first just want to hit a little bit on this one. Florida gets to 2-3, Texas now 3-2. If I just asked you on a sort of 1,000-foot view question, Greg, is this more of what Florida's going to be the rest of the year, or is this more of what Texas is and going to be the rest of the year?
I think this is going to be what Florida is the rest of the year. Are you in the same boat?
I am.
Yep.
Because a lot of the things that I have said that I've been concerned about with Texas were on full display in this game. And there were multiple players for Florida that have gotten a little bit of buzz, not a ton, some because of Caleb Banks, but have deserved a little more conversation. That defensive line was disruptive. That defense flew around. They made one-on-one tackles, which, as we told you a couple weeks ago, UTEP was able to put together the best individual tackling performance of the year against Texas's offense. And it got me thinking, Greg, just about kind of people are going to ask why, how. A lot of it's going to go to Arch. Did he make some mistakes? Yes, he did. I don't think he had a lot of time to set up and make throws. I don't think he had a lot of receivers helping him out, a lot of running backs helping him out. But I go back to last year and guys like Gunnar Helm, guys like Jake Majors, guys who had been Kelvin Banks, even though Kelvin Banks was a 5-star everything, first round, whatnot. But the guys who had been there for a while, the guys who it really meant a lot to, the guys who had probably not just been handed everything in, wait for half a year, play a little bit, then all of a sudden it's your turn. You think about those DBs last year, and I know some were portal guys, but there was hey, we're all from Austin. We want to come back together, play together, like where we should have been from the beginning and kind of make this thing happen with Taft and Johnny Barron and those guys. Andrew McCuba came back. He was an Austin kid. There's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for the hard hat guys, the utility guys, the lunch pail, show up and do your job every day guys. I don't know how many dudes Texas has like that right now. Right. And I don't know if that's anybody's fault. I don't know if you can truly change that intentionally. Sometimes those things just happen. But I know watching them, you don't get a lot of the things you got from that group a season ago when it comes to just understanding how to be a football team.
Right. The problem to me with the offensive line, like you can tell me all day long, like I'm amazed how we are sitting there talking about Arch's performance. I didn't watch the game live. It was going on at the same time as our game, so I didn't watch it live. But I hear after the fact, like group messages going crazy, like Arch stinks it up again. Dude, Arch played by far the best game of his career on Saturday. Like, were there a couple misses? Absolutely. Was he under duress the entire game? Without question. It was an almost impossible ask for him to be able to deliver the ball as accurately as he did. The first interception, the receiver's got to get his head around. It's a little high, but receiver's got to get his head around. Arch anticipated the throw. Why? Because he had to get rid of it super early because they're breathing fire on the whole game. The second interception is just a great defensive play. You tip your caps. Well thrown ball. Did he have a miss down the right sideline early? Yes, he did. But that was because he had to evade not one, but two would-be tacklers in his own backfield before he delivered the football. He couldn't even set his feet. The guy was under constant duress the whole time. And I look at the defense. Like, I think the defense, they got a couple times. Like, guy falls down a 55-yard touchdown. Like, it happens. Like, it's not, you don't love it, but it happens. I thought the pressure was close, but Lagway was too decisive in this game. And it was very, very good. And if the pass rush can't get home, the D-line didn't show up for Texas until the final 15, 20 minutes of the game. So they were gone. They were getting pushed around the first 40. And then the last 20, it's like, all right, let's get it going a little bit. And they did. They played better down the stretch along the D-line, but the pass rush was a non-factor. So I think Texas is still pretty good on defense. But the offensive line, you don't fix that at this point of the season. You kind of are who you are. And guess what? It doesn't get easier this week against Oklahoma. It doesn't get easier in a couple weeks when you play against Georgia or some of the teams you might face if you, I don't know, make it to the playoffs, which is looking unlikely at this point. So I think they got some problems. Texas does along the O-line.
I think they got a lot of problems. And as we have stated before, and it showed up again in this game, your playmakers start making enough plays. You get the ball in space, you got to make a guy miss. I mean, you get the ball on the perimeter via handoff, toss, whatever it is. You got to find a way to gain extra yards. And I just don't feel like enough guys on that offense are being able to do this. But as you stated, there's a lot of things that aren't even able to get going to begin to find a way to develop that rhythm and stay on schedule and call plays in a way that Sark's probably used to because they don't have the protection and they're not opening things up in the run game. A lot of the traditional plays that offense is built around, that everything else is attached to, they can't get going because that group's just not very good right now. I don't know another. There's not a nice way to say it. They're not good up front. They're not. And
but look
without
how stars.
Well, yeah, 100%, all of them. And without that, there's not going to be a lot of different things that Sark can just create. He's a master at doing some of it, and he can get you a lot of it, but you can't live on smoke and mirrors. And right now, it feels like he's having to try to do that because that group is, one, a liability in protection, two, unable to consistently open things up in the run game.
I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball very well. I've come to that conclusion. So it puts a lot of pressure on Arch, and it puts a lot of pressure on the pass attack, and it puts a lot of pressure on the protection. I'm not convinced they're a run-first football team. Not this year. It's just not who they are. There's not enough nasty right now to get it going. Like Arch, I think, can provide you some with his legs. He can help you, but there's only so much he can do. The pass pro is a real problem. Real problem. Back to Arch's performance, though. You agree with me. I thought he played his tail off in that game. He played a good football game, in my opinion, under the circumstances. Like, if they get that level of play from their quarterback, they got to be pleased with what he did in that game specifically.
I thought there were some good things he did. You mentioned his legs. I mean, he helped him, saved him a couple of times by being able to leave the pocket, being able to get some things done when, protection was breaking down. So it doesn't all need to be on him. We've heard for the last couple of weeks that it has been. We know good and well that it's not. I mean, he obviously has made some mistakes. There are throws that he'd like to have back. There's a couple throws in that game that he'd like to have back that could have been completed that weren't. But I don't look at Texas's issues as an Arch problem. I don't think that's it. And I'll say, too, defensively, it's not as clean as it needs to be. I mean, you lose contain multiple times. Didn't set a hard edge very often.
Yeah.
Now, I hate to go back to this, Greg, but I told you a couple weeks ago, I called you on a Sunday, and I said Texas is starting to look very USC-ish to me.
Ooh.
And they love doing the cool stuff. And when it's ripping it off the edge, it's really cool and fun. When it's sprint to the sideline to make a tackle, it's really cool and fun. Like another guy that I should have brought up from last year, like a Vernon Broughton, who no one talked about going into the season. And you think about those D tackles last year, Bill Norton, those guys. Like, what did we say all the previous offseason? Well, they can't match what T'Vondre Sweat did. I mean, they're not going to be anywhere near what Murphy was. Like that's going to be a huge problem for this team. Well, not everybody said all that this offseason. So there wasn't a lot of the doubt and disrespect towards that group this year. And not that they haven't had some good reps, but there's some things, some of the dirty work stuff on defense also isn't happening. Can they run?
Sure.
Yes. Are they sleek and bendy and flexible? Yes.
Oh, they're pretty. Yeah,
but
they're pretty on the hoof.
But it's some of the dirty work stuff, like you can't let the tight end hook you on an outside zone play. And off to the races. I mean, it's, when you got to play zone read and play flat, like you got to stay there and not get out of your lane. You got to stay in your gap. And like those are some of the things with that defense that were happening a lot last year that I see are maybe slipping a little bit for that defense this year.
Perfectly fair assessment. I don't have any issues with it whatsoever. I also don't think they're as good in coverage. I think they have guys that have pretty good instincts. They're a quarters team. And so if you're a quarters team, you better have some dudes on the perimeter that can flat out lock you down. And hey, let's do another thing too on the other side. Dallas Wilson's a man now. That dude is a grown man. As a true freshman, to be built like that and to play that strong at wide receiver, that was one of the more impressive performances I've seen from a freshman wide receiver ever. It really was. Like, he's bodying dudes.
There are a couple of those catches he just flat shouldn't have made. Like, just
shouldn't
have been able to get to the ball. I mean,
he looks like Anquan Bolden. Like, he's that big. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a big physical wide receiver, and he's just put together. I mean, he's got juice too. Like, you can run, he can get vertical, but golly, he's strong as an ox watching him on that football field.
Yeah, it's he was impressive, and obviously a guy that we haven't really gotten to inside this game just yet. But some of the movement from the Florida offensive line, like I would say, like Austin Barber, that's the best I've seen him play this year. 71, best I've seen him play this year. Like 71 was pissed. I don't know what they did to him before the game, but they need to do it every game because he played angry. And
they put something in his Cheerios?
Something, and they did a really nice job of it was funny because we had a Joe Moore call last night, and we were talking about outside zone because Missouri came up, and I kind of jumped in late, and I said at the end of the day though, like, you still have to know how to do that, whether it's violent or destructive or super impressive. There is a skill that comes with being able to do that. Yeah. And you saw that show up for the Florida offensive line in this game. There were multiple times with movement where they had to either trace back, reroute, and pick up a looping linebacker, or understand that the linebacker was playing under, so they needed to stay on a defensive lineman. And little things like that are what make runs go. And they did that in this game. There was a lot of moments where it's like, oh, okay, don't keep going at air. Stop and wall this guy off, and we may have a crease. And then there's a crease. And it helps when Jaden Bobb, just doesn't stop.
He doesn't
literally
stink.
Just runs, like, no matter what. So guys just insane to watch play football. I love him. And they just had a lot of things going. And I meant to send you this play last night because I told you in the LSU game and before that, I said, it looks like DJ is protecting something in his lower body. The one play where he's rolling to his right, and it's almost like he's trying to emulate the Jordan pose, throwing the football, like he in the air, like completely unnecessary leap to throw the ball. And I'm like, okay, something's definitely going on with the lower extremities here, because you don't just do that for fun.
Right. I don't feel like it was as pronounced in this one. I think they did a good job of marrying up some of the run pass with the bootlegs and things like that. A notable thing that he did, like second touchdown pass. I don't know if you saw it. I mean, I know you did, but he doesn't get his arm through. Like, it feels like all the time when I'm watching DJ Lagway, it's I'm trying to think like the best way to say it where it's not interpreted the wrong way, because it can be interpreted negatively, but it's actually meant as a positive. So hear me out when I say this. It's like hysterically beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, it's disgustingly beautiful. Like there's something about that. He just looks a little. He's who's like a little bit. He reminds me of. He reminds me of Jameis, a little bit. Like the more I watch him, the more I look at Jameis. I see Jameis. Where Jameis Winston, like there's something that's a little bit like. It's always a little bit out of control. It's always a little bit like loose. It's always a little bit right on the verge of chaos, like right on the verge of like miraculously blowing up. But he makes it work. Like I kind of see that with Lagway some, where and I saw it on the second touchdown where like his arm's getting hit, he can't even get through it, and somehow like just with the flick of his wrist, he's able to drive it 15 yards and put it on the money. Like he's just strong like that, and Jameis had some of that. There's like a certain magic to it. It doesn't make sense. You can't really wrap your head around, but there's like a little bit of magic to just how they play. And I think Lagway on his best day has some of that. And I do believe this is one of the best games of his career. Like I thought he threw the ball really well and made some really difficult throws look easy, and kind of looked back at being like his Roethlisberger, Jameis Winston self. Like it was fun to watch. It really was.
I think I understand the comps, and they make sense.
You know what I mean? Like it's like it looks like a car wreck. It's like about to happen, and then all of a sudden it just works. Like it's amazing. Like I love watching him play when he's at his best. He's one of my favorites. So is Jameis. Jameis is one of my favorites ever. Like I just love watching him play.
And I hate saying this one because this is like the new age everybody comp, but like I almost think it's even past him. Like there's an arm angle aspect that's like even past Mahomes. It's like submarine ball.
It's submarine.
He's like Dan
100%.
Quisenberry up there. I don't like. There's like two of them. I don't even know how he got them out. I'm sitting there going, 100%. Hold on, and I'm rewinding it, saying he threw it through the guy, literally. Like it had to go through the defender there. I don't know how this ball got, and to do that out on the perimeter the way that he does, and it gets him in trouble occasionally. Not in this game, it didn't.
Sure.
But there's times when it's like, oh boy, why could you not have just flipped that out there over the guy's head and like we'd have been fine here? So he does get a little cute with it occasionally, but in a game like this where Texas was screaming off the edge early and they were playing, like their hair was on fire trying to get at the quarterback, and it was like flip it out here, flip it out there, flip it over here. Make them run east-west, get them going. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to come at you north and south. And they needed those throws early on, and he was, like you said, it was pure wizardry to watch the way he did some of that stuff early in the game.
That's well said. I like wizardry.
Yeah.
I think that's a really well said way of phrasing it. It's just there's something a little magic. It's very, very it's unorthodox. But it's just there. He's so big and he's so strong that it just works.
Yeah, his wrist flip is more than some guys' full throws.
100. That's what I mean. Like, look at the second touchdown. I don't even know what play number it was. Like, how does he even get the ball out? Like, he literally doesn't even. It's his arm stops like at the top, and he just flicks his wrist, and it goes 20 yards.
Yeah,
like on the money, by the way, too. Like, I don't know how he does it. He's just. And Jameis was the same way. Like, and I just love, and Ben Roethlisberger, same way. It's like, how did he do that? How is he so strong? It's so fun. It's fun to watch guys like that, man. It really is.
Yeah, maybe you're a wizard and you need a new home or a new castle to move into. Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group could help you out with that. They have served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. No confirmation on how many of those were also wizards, but I'm sure they could be able to help you out with it one way or the other. Since 2012, Gusty Goulas Group has been recognized both nationally, locally, as Greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. Over 850 five-star Google reviews. Just call 205-542-1996. See what they can do for you. Or better yet, go to GustyGoulasGroup.com, button in the top right-hand corner of the page. You smash that button, and you'll be able to see with very little information how much they think they can get for your home. And they're going to know what's coming available. They already have that list of clients that they've gone through and helped out in Central Alabama. 205-542-1996, brokered by eXp Realty. It's the Gusty Goulas Group. Go to GustyGoulasGroup.com today or just Google Gusty Goulas Group and see for yourself. All right, when we come back, more on SEC football. Got to get a little national still on the show today. DJ Shockley is going to get us set for Auburn, Georgia this weekend. Tell us where the Bulldogs are after the Kentucky game from Saturday. Next, right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 8:23 a.m. Monday, October 6th, right here on Jocks. DJ Shockley played quarterback at Georgia, covers the Bulldogs while he covers sports over in the ATL. Now, obviously, has his pulse on this football team. And DJ, I understand the Kentucky offense is not elite, and not a lot of people are going to be impressed. But one thing I did come away from this game with is while the defensive line might not be as violent as it's been, while the pass rush might not be as good as it's been, one thing this defense still does extremely well, they close space about as well as any defense that I've seen this year. They can go from a light box to all of a sudden a loaded box in no time. Is that something that Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart can sort of lean their hats on against this Auburn offense this weekend and maybe make enough difference?
Cole, what's up, man? Appreciate you having me. Good to join you guys. And, yeah, man, it's been one of the things that they've kind of stressed, too, coming into this season is, one, you want to be able to stop the run, and you want to be able to run the football. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, that's kind of been one of the things that they've kind of said they value is we want to be able to play a lot of guys, but you have to be able to run to the football. You got to be able to close, like you mentioned, in space. You got to be able to create those lanes where it looks like it's something there and then use the speed. I can't recall how many times I've seen C.J. Allen. It looks like a guy's going to be running away from, maybe a potential pressure in the pocket, and he runs them down, or Raylan Wilson runs them down, or, the D lineman retracing their steps and going to, find ways to get guys to the ground and not giving up big yards. So it's been a key emphasis for them is being able to make sure that they are able to close those gaps, but also not give up the chunk yardage plays when, you have a light box and a team wants to run the rock.
How would you assess the improvements in not allowing big plays defensively? Because I think that might be the biggest takeaway now the last 2 weeks. Not a lot of big plays through the air when compared to what we saw from Georgia against Tennessee, where they're just giving up a lot of shots. And I think they've made progress there. How would you assess the progress that's been made on the perimeter?
Yeah, Greg, that's a good question, man, because I think that's probably the number one thing that they kind of talked about going into the last few weeks is not giving up those big explosive plays. Because as we know in this league, there are going to be a lot of teams that want to stretch the field, they want to go vertical, they want to try you on the back end. And I think especially early against Tennessee, that was a big time issue. Is guys are there. It's not like they were just missing guys or guys were out of place. They actually were in good position, were in good phase, and just couldn't finish on the football. And I think they have dedicated a lot of time the last few weeks on making sure guys are, finding the football in the air and they're not panicking when they're there. And last week against Kentucky, they played a lot of dime coverage. They brought in DeMello Jones, a guy that was really good for them in the spring. They told him they expected a lot from him. And obviously, when Daniel Harris had issues versus Tennessee, and then Ellis Robinson had some issues versus Tennessee as well, those guys had to step the game up to a new level. And I asked Coach Smart about it, playing his day is, how you get those guys to play at a better level, especially with the ball in the air. He said the one thing about him is they've done it well in practice. They just haven't been able to, carry that over in the game. I think the last, week or so, they've done a good job of just finding the football and not allowing it. I think they're trying to play more. They play a little bit more zone than usual, and, it's kind of helping a little bit having help over the top. But this is a defense that, Kirby likes to play man, likes to play a little press, likes to put a little pressure on them. So they're going to have to, hold up on the outside and on that island. But I think there's times where, they have played a lot of zone to help those guys to try to play top down too.
What is your assessment of Gunnar Stockton's play this year so far?
You know what? I think it's been kind of a mixed bag. I think you've seen some good things. You've seen him create with his legs, which we already knew he could do. But then there's also times where he should have ripped that one. And I think after Alabama's game, just talking with Coach Bobo, talking with a few of the offensive guys, there were plays that were out there that just weren't thrown, or there was opportunities for them to have some big chunk plays, and he didn't let it rip. And to be honest, this is just my personal opinion. I think Gunnar is a guy that doesn't want to make mistakes, so he would at the beginning he really didn't force the issue. Like if it wasn't there, he wasn't going to throw it. And you knew coming to the season that's the kind of player he was he's not going to turn it over. He's going to make good decisions. But I think the last ball game against Kentucky, there was a concerted effort to tell him, you know what, you got to rip some of these. You got to throw it in some tight coverage. And I think they're actually glad that he threw the interception versus Kentucky because that shows he's willing to throw the football in a tight coverage. And yeah, they made the play, but I think they really love the fact that he ripped a few. And I think in his last ball game, he threw more balls over the middle than he's probably thrown all year. And that's just a trust factor and knowing these guys are going to come down with it. But I think it's been a mixed bag of what you thought you would see, but it's been a mixed bag from the past game. And I think they're starting to get better. They want more explosive. There's plays still out there. But if he can continue to grow as a passer, I think this offense can really make some hay because there's dudes open.
How would you assess the offensive line's ability to move people? Because I think that's where Auburn might have a pathway to succeed. I do think Auburn has improved in the back end a bit. I do think Auburn is pretty good up front defensively. They're coming off a bye, so they should be well rested, all this other stuff. So how do you think Georgia will impose their will in the run game, and can they against a group like this?
Yeah, that's a good question, too, because as we know, this Auburn team is always a tough physical one. They always play Georgia really hard. They always got some big athletic guys, and they can move. They can change the fronts. They can do some pre-snap stuff, and then, post-snap makes it look a little bit differently than you're usually used to seeing. And the one big thing is obviously going to be the communication part of it. And I think we saw in the Alabama game on the big 4th-and-1 call, you got two true freshmen on that right side in Gaston and Glover, and one guy doesn't get the call, and, obviously you get a miscommunication. That was at home. And you have a miscommunication that causes you to, obviously get a negative yardage play, pick up that big 4th down. But I think the biggest thing that's going on with Georgia's offensive line is they just had so many guys banged up. I mean, they've had guys in and out of that lineup, and Cole, as you guys know, but both of you guys know, when you don't have that continuity up front, that's going to make it tough. Now you go into an environment like Jordan Hare where communication is at the ultimate premium. Every guy has to be on the same page. I think that's going to be a big deal. I don't think they would have a problem moving people. They've done a really good job of it through, 4 or 5 games. They've made a concerted effort to run the football this season. I know they dust up it all season to make sure they're more physical and emphasizing the run game. I think, they're averaging around 38, 40 attempts a game right now, and that's a big part of what they want to do. And you add Gunner to that, obviously to that equation, it makes it even more dangerous that you have a guy who can run. But I think this is a ball game where you're going to be tested. As we know, Auburn is a team that's going to, play on the other side of the line of scrimmage and try to create negative yardage plays. Can Georgia continue what they've been doing over the past few weeks of running the football? But the other big part of it is Chauncey Bowens. He's been a bright spot for Georgia, the running back spot. Nate Frazier's ran the ball well. He just had a couple fumbles, and they've kind of sat him down at times. But Chauncey Bowens is the guy who runs through arm tackles. He runs physical. He's downhill. He's not a east and west kind of guy. He wants to get north and south, and he has really been a big bright spot for Georgia in the run game, and a reason why they've been able to run the football so well.
How concerned are you about the pass rush or lack thereof? And do you feel like that there are a couple of guys that are maybe close enough to where it's not going to be an issue, not going to be a problem? Is this just something they're going to have to orchestrate on their own multiple times? Where are you on Georgia being able to get to the quarterback the rest of the way through?
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's been a problem. That's been an issue. If you look at their past couple ball games where you have a quarterback that can sit back there and throw the football and you can't get to him, that's going to be a problem. Versus Alabama, you look at the film, they tried zone pressures, they tried man pressures, they tried, regular zone, they tried 4-man, they tried 5 down, they just could not get to Ty Simpson. And that was the big problem, allowing a guy to have that kind of confidence to sit back there and survey and throw it down the field. That's a big time issue. And when you look at Georgia's defensive line, you're like, okay, you got some really good players, but you don't have one that you can, kind of put your hat on and say, all right, this is the guy that can go get it. You don't have the Jalen Walkers anymore, the Jordan Davis, all those guys who could just, they could take over one-on-one and go get you a sack. Got 5 sacks on the season. That's not good enough. And I think they've tried to do it. I think Brent Schumer's going to have to do, just got to find ways to create that pressure by bringing 4, 5, 6-man pressures at times to try to create that, along with probably playing some zone pressures on the backside just so you don't leave those guys on islands a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how they try to manufacture the pressure, but they just have not been able to do it with 4 down, and that's going to be a remedy for a problem, especially if you're not able to get to Jackson Arnold. He's going to be able to make some plays with you.
What about the matchup this weekend? Ultimately, how do you see it? How dangerous of an opponent is Auburn for Georgia?
I think a very dangerous. I think the environment plays a part in it. Obviously, when you go to Tennessee and you have that kind of game you had, that's it helps your team going forward because you've been in that kind of environment before. But as you know, Jordan Hare is a little bit different of an animal. But like you mentioned, they also been on a bye week. They've had time to sit back and watch Georgia and see kind of some of the things they did really well. Alabama came out when they had a bye week and had a lot of great things schemed up for them. I'm sure they're going to see a bunch of unscattered looks at this game. But my biggest concern is just the offensive line being able to hold up because of how much turmoil you had up front with guys just being hurt and down. And I mean, there was a point last week where one guy went down. There was probably 6 different guys that could play in the ball game that haven't played with that number one unit. So it's going to be interesting to see how the offensive line comes together. Obviously, dealing with the speed on the perimeter for Auburn's receivers. They've seen Singleton last year at Tech. Obviously, he's a big-time playmaker for them. But as we know, this is going to be an interesting ball game when it comes down to the trenches and who can be the most dominant in there. But Georgia has to do a really good job of what they've done in the past of run the football and take care of it and not give it back to Auburn and give them extra opportunities in this game and let this crowd really get affected by what you do. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, I think. And it's always one of those kind of games. But Auburn, even though Georgia's had that number, especially when you go on the road and the SEC, as we know, it's going to be tough.
Absolutely. DJ, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping in. Appreciate the time. Always great hearing from you. Let's do it again soon.
Oh, Greg, appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one, brother.
Absolutely. DJ Shockley, former Georgia quarterback, joining us there on the Higginbotham hotline, helping us break down a little bit of Auburn, Georgia. Just getting some thoughts on Georgia from over the weekend. You can see him now on Fox 5 in Atlanta covering sports there and does sideline for Georgia radio broadcasts as well. I want to get a little bit further into just Georgia against Kentucky, a couple of the things that we saw. There's not a ton to break down there, Greg, but there were some things that I saw that I loved from Georgia, some things actually that I liked from Kentucky, but just they weren't really in a position to be able to make a living on those things. We'll do that a little bit more on the other side. First, tell our listeners about ProLift.
Well, ProLift Doors has been doing a great job here in the Birmingham community for a bit now, and it's evidenced by the reviews they have right now on Google, 200 plus 5-star reviews. Mike here in Homewood does an amazing job of creating an environment with his company where they can service all types of garage doors. They can work on existing doors. They can do installs of new garage doors if that's the direction you want to go. That's all brands. You can upgrade the appearance of your home and increase the value of your home if you have brand new garage doors. So whether it's opener, repair, replacement, installation, if things are slow or unusual noises or vibrations, if they're shaking, call for a maintenance service. You pay for the work, not for the service call. And in order to see them, they have one in Baldwin County. They also have one here locally. Go to the website to find the appropriate phone number for you. Go to proliftdoors.com. That's proliftdoors.com. ProLift Garage Doors, lifting your expectations.
All right, when we come back, a little bit more on Georgia, Kentucky, and we come back to Bama Vandy right after this on Jocks.
Welcome back. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Jocks 94.5. 8:40 here, Monday, October 6th. It's week 7 already, ladies and gentlemen. It is flying along here. We're nearly at the midway point. It's absolutely insane how fast the season's going, but man, it's fun. I'm starting to figure out who these teams are and what these teams can do. I know exactly who Bill Smith is, and Bill Smith Buick GMC. They're the GMC Dealer of the Year. They've won 8 national championships. That's according to General Motors. So don't take my word for it. Take General Motors' word for it. Nobody sells more vehicles in the Southeast than Bill Smith Buick GMC. And why is that? Because they give you deals that you won't find anywhere else. Like a 2025 GMC Sierra Denali. If you're thinking about upgrading from the 2-wheel drive to the 4-wheel drive, this is the Denali 2500. It's a beautiful vehicle. $89,715 is the list priced. You can get it for $12,000 off, taking it down to $77,715. To take $12,000 off a 2500 Sierra, that's a beautiful vehicle and one that will be about as useful and as nice and as fancy as any car on the road. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You won't find that deal anywhere else. It's a reason why 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Take the short drive to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
I want to talk a little bit more about this Georgia-Kentucky game, G-Mac. There's not going to be a ton of directions to go with it. But I actually thought there was a couple of things in the run game Kentucky was doing well. And when you're watching them, you're thinking, man, that's good. Like, got a little movement on the double team there. Like, you got a guy reached. And then you notice it's a lighter box, but all of a sudden Georgia fills it up. And all of a sudden there's a defender there, there's a safety there, there's a corner there, there's a nickel there. And it kind of opened my eyes a little bit more to this defense isn't quite dead just yet. And
right.
Just because they can't rush the passer, just because they don't have these, overwhelmingly indestructible forces at defensive tackle doesn't mean that they still can't be problematic. And they were pretty good in man coverage in this game. 22 made a couple of catches. Tight ends got loose a couple of times. I think they had 2 busts in the game that I saw. But it brought to light this defense is still pretty good. And
yes,
the fact that they can give you a picture and then be something different right after you hand the ball off, that to me spells trouble for Auburn this weekend. And it's the first thing that came to my mind when you're running against 4 and 5 man box, you're Kentucky, and things look great, and then all of a sudden there's 2 defenders there that are not accounted for, and they're making the play for a 2-yard gain or no gain or a 4-yard gain, and it should have been a 14-yard gain based on how you thought you drawed it up. With how Auburn operates, that could be very problematic for how they're probably intending on running the football this weekend.
Well, I mean, what would you do? Would you not just completely sell out if you were Auburn against the run and just hope you can hang out outside? And then on the other side, well, frankly, both teams. Like if I were sitting there and I were Georgia trying to defend Auburn's offense and or Auburn trying to defend Georgia's offense, I think the offenses are very similar. Quarterback runs, priority. Running the football, priority. They're very, very similar with what not in scheme, but in philosophy. So I'll be curious if you are trying to scheme it up against Georgia's defense. Like you said, I think it's a good group. I don't think they're a super dynamic group rushing the passer, but I also think it's a pretty good group when it comes to playing with violence. And violence is very, very important in a game like this. If you can hit the quarterback hard, it can affect accuracy. And I would be concerned about the long-term ramifications for Auburn if they can't develop a downfield passing attack in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what you said a couple weeks ago, whether it was after the Oklahoma game or after the A&M game. I can't remember which game you said it after. You're like, listen, this is the recipe moving forward. People are going to have a safety help over Cam Coleman. Now, whether that's blatantly obvious pre-snap or post-snap, it actually moves into position, but that's what's going to happen. And everybody else is going to pretty much be in run support, and they're going to make Jackson Arnold throw him out of it. I don't play any different than that. But I will say this. If my nickels and safeties and hybrid players like 19 who can be a legit edge defender and then all of a sudden play off the ball, or 5 who can play off the ball or all of a sudden come line up and play on the end of the line of scrimmage, I might even play those players out in space a little bit more pre-snap. knowing they're going to be living in the box post snap,
Yeah.
thinking you can run the ball, thinking, oh, okay, here's a good run look, let's hand it off. Because the way that they close space as good as anybody I've seen this year, as well as anybody I've seen. It's just that the picture right before the snap to 2 seconds after the snap in the run game is as different against Georgia as it is as anybody else with how they operate.
Sure.
And some people do it with pressures and it's like you're blitzing a guy. They're not blitzing people. They're just showing up in run support immediately. And that makes life difficult because, as we know, those pre-snap reads are a lot of times how Jackson Arnold has to decide what he's going to do. And he also hasn't been very decisive with deciding what he's going to do. That, to me, just spells a lot of problems against. I think people are getting caught up in the sacks, and I think people are getting caught up in some of the results of actual games, whether it's Alabama beat them, Tennessee kept it close, whatever. And people are not looking at some of the intricacies of this defense because that's what showed up to me this weekend, Greg, and specifically how problematic it can be for Auburn this weekend.
Yeah. What do you think is the path for victory with Auburn? Like,
And
explosive plays?
just so y'all know real quick, like no PFF grades, like no quotes from other people, like we're not doing any of that crap. Like just every now and then I just feel like it needs to be a reminder of like, just tell me where else you're getting that because you're not. Nobody. I'm listening to all these shows this weekend telling me PFF grades and who else is saying what and what quotes from other people. Like we're not doing that here. Like we watch it, we see it, we tell you what we see. That's it. Facts and opinions. That's all we have.
And
I'm not even in a bad mood today, but I just felt like that
well,
needed to
not
be
yet.
said.
Mention PFF one more time, you'll be in a bad mood. We'll get it
Well,
going.
apparently there's a PFF 0 grade in pass blocking that's going around again, so I'm going to have to pull that kid's tape and do the whole damn thing again and just go show people like, no, it's not a 0 because here's the 5 plays that he actually blocked the guy and didn't get his quarterback killed. So how's it a 0? You tell me. But we're going to write articles about the kid's the worst ever because he got a 0. I mean, I can't handle it.
Yeah, I'm not really into the PFF grades. I'll be the first to admit, not really my thing. But I also acknowledge that the offensive line in pass pro has been susceptible to athleticism off the edge. The good news, if you're Auburn, is Georgia has not necessarily displayed athleticism off the edge the way they once did. It's a little different from a group standpoint. So I think it's absolutely imperative that Auburn stays on schedule in this game. Can't have a lot of the lost yardage plays. They have to stay in front of the chains because if it gets into obvious pass situations, it becomes very tough. And I'm real interested to see if Auburn can effectively create the run. Because if you watch Bama's run game against Georgia, you'll look at the numbers and you'll say that's not very impressive, but they were close on a bunch of runs, very close on a bunch of runs. And I do think that Auburn's offensive line from a run standpoint is pretty sporty. So if they can create some problems there, that'd be pretty huge in trying to create some problems for Georgia.
All right, we'll get to a break here. A lot more college football to get to when we come back. We haven't mentioned much about Bama's defense against Vanderbilt. We did give Vandy a little bit of credit for what they did offensively, and I think that's well deserved. But at the end of the day, Alabama gave up 14 points, and a couple of massive plays were made in big moments when they absolutely had to be made by that Alabama defense. So obviously we want to talk about those as well. But if you're looking for that new ride, you can say big at Royal Buick GMC. Here's some massive discounts you're going to find. Get a 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT Premium Plus with sunroof and the 6.2-liter engine, priced at $70,509 to reduce to $55,559. That's a saving of $15,000. Check out the 2026 Encore GX SUV, loaded with the Avenir trim package. It lists $38,040. Buy it today for $33,040. Take advantage of a $5,000 price reduction. All offers valid through November 3rd, 2025. Save money and upgrade your ride at Royal Buick GMC, home of the $75 dock fee. Royal Buick GMC at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 of Vestavia, and online at royalbuickgmc.net. Remember, for every ride, there's Royal. All right, we'll talk a little more Bama Vandy next, right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Going to get back into Alabama Vandy. 30-14, Bama gets the win. They moved to 4-1 on the season. Vandy now 5-1. So they end Vanderbilt's undefeated season. It is that time of season, though, when you may be running the AC during the day and the heat at night. That stress on your home comfort system is why you need a Train. They've been named America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years. So you know you can count on the reliability of a Train to keep your home and family comfortable for years to come. Find out more at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. What did you like most about what Alabama's defense did over the weekend, Greg?
Adjust, probably more than anything else. I mean, they in the past, I don't feel like, in the least in the last 2 years, there has not been a tremendous response to adversity in the past. However, in this game, there was adversity. There was a lot of adversity early, and they didn't flinch. They just kept going. And I think there's a lot to appreciate about that, because that to me is a key difference. They also, I think the staff did a great job of making tweaks with alignment, making tweaks there and rotating guys in. If you play well, you stay in. If you don't play well, you come out. So they kept people on notice a bit and rotated a few people in a few different spots. So I think there's a lot to like about what I saw from that defense and where this group can go. I'm very, very optimistic about what I've seen at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. Would you agree that the Jefferson caused fumble play of the game?
By far.
Yeah. Just a had to have it moment. You needed something to go your way. You needed to shut down a little bit of the momentum, and you were able to do that. And obviously just a huge moment right there for the Alabama defense with how they were able to shut that down, because Vanderbilt goes up 14-0 right there, closing in on the end of the half. Not a spot that you want to be in.
Yeah. No. Then at that point too, the game had kind of gone exactly the way Vanderbilt would have wanted it to go too. I mean, they jump early, and they're a good team when playing with the lead. So I think that was huge. Vanderbilt also is not a team that has made a lot of mistakes. And I do think it's fascinating to see how Alabama adjusted their philosophy. Last year, they were a quick strike team. As a result, their defense occasionally got hung out to dry. And against Vanderbilt, that was a great example of that. They were on the field for 42 minutes in the game. They have evolved now into becoming a much more complementary football team, where, yes, the passing game is where they're at, but they're a ball control passing game. They're not a quick strike, big play passing attack. So I think that's the next phase of the evolution. They can be quick strike, we know that, but they also can grind you out a little as well. And that was evidenced by how many snaps Vanderbilt got offensively versus how many snaps Bama got offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vandy did do some nice things in this game, but Alabama found ways to make plays on defense, specifically when they had to have them. And then when Vanderbilt began to press late, Alabama sort of stepped up again and found a way to make those plays and secured the game. So more to get to around that, be it Vanderbilt, Alabama defense, how that game went, what's next for the Tide. We'll discuss it all next right here on Jocks.